Bonus locked on Pacers time as Tyrese Haliburton takes over the world. The best game of his career by a mile. A game winner in Miami, putting his name fully on the map, getting the Pacers over 500 before Christmas. We'll talk about it all in a short bonus locked on Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today it's Christmas Eve, and it is a short bonus Saturday Locked On Pacers because of the game that just happened. Pacers win in Miami. They beat the Heat for the second time this season. They've beaten the Heat by 3 before this year. They've also played the Heat a different time in a 5-point game, but this one was special because it was Tyrese Haliburton's coming out party. He's had some huge games for the Pacers, 35 points, 33 points. He had a 38-point game with the Kings before the trade. He's had 15, 16 assist games in his career. Tyrese Haliburton is used to big nights, is used to getting all the defensive attention, is used to being the engine for the Pacers offense. And yet, this was a new level for the All-Star guard. And I'm calling that now one day after the All-Star show with Rhett Bauer that you should listen to, because Tyrese Haliburton just had the game of his life, and it was, quite frankly, unbelievable. The Miami Heat, the 8th-ranked Miami Heat defense, the same defense that held Tyrese Haliburton to 1 point 11 days prior to this game in Indianapolis. Buddy Hield, after the game, Tyrese Haliburton's teammate his entire career, Buddy Hield, says, "That was the worst game I've seen Tyrese Haliburton play." That's how good the Heat defended Tyrese Haliburton in Miami tonight, December 23rd. Tyrese Haliburton, 43 points. Career high by a mile. It took him only 20 shots to get there. And it's not that he had a bunch of free throws. He only made 5. 10 of 16 from deep on his way to 43 points, 7 assists, and the game-winning three-pointer to get the Pacers their second straight crazy impressive road win, with Haliburton guiding the team in the clutch. An unbelievable game from right now, an unbelievable player. So let's talk a little bit about contextualizing this. Prior to tonight, Tyrese Haliburton's Pacer high was 35. His career high was 38. He never hit 40. He eclipsed that in this game with 43. He had 40 on 2 free throws he hit late in the game to get the Pacers a lead, and then got to 43 on the game winner, which we will talk about in more detail in a second. Prior to this game, no Pacers player ever had hit more than 9 threes in a game. In the NBA era, I believe it was only Paul George and TJ Warren who had hit 9 threes in a game wearing a Pacers jersey. Tyrese Haliburton, by virtue of his game winner, hitting his 10th in 16 tries, becomes the first player ever wearing a blue and gold jersey, well, the Pacers blue and gold jersey, I should say, to reach 10 made threes in a game. And in his career, he had not yet had the moment, the shot, the memorable clutch thing to put him on the map. And he now has that too. The game-winning 3 with 4 seconds to go to beat a red-hot Miami Heat team, by the way, that had caught the Pacers in the standings until this game. An incredible, borderline perfect performance from Tyrese Haliburton in this game. And look, I can say that I think it's the biggest shot he's hit in his career or for this team at the NBA level, but he said it himself. Someone asked him in the post-game media scrum that the Heat sent over the audio for after the game and said, "Hey, where's the shot rank in your NBA career?" He said, "Probably number 1. I can't lie," right? He is the guy who is authorized to say such things. It was an unbelievable game from Tyrese Haliburton, and what made it stand out the most, to me, beyond the many, many things he did that the Miami Heat could not stop, is, again, that this was against the same team that held him to 1 point on 0 for 9 shooting less than 2 weeks ago. The Heat, with Bam Adebayo, figured out how to be aggressive with him, how to take him out of his game and make the rest of the Pacers do all the hard work, which is, some teams have not gotten away with that. The Heat did. And Tyrese Haliburton said, he was talking to Chris Denari in the media thing, and he said he's been thinking about that game ever since. It's been on his mind coming into today. And then he said, "I knew I had to respond the right way if I want to be the player that I think I am and that others think I am," right? He wants to be better than he is. He wants to be a certain level, perceived at a certain level, play at a certain level, be a certain level. That's why he worked on his aggressiveness so much this offseason. There is a type of player and a skill of player that Tyrese Haliburton has said often he wants to be. And after games where he feels like he's imperfect, with that's turnovers, with that's missing shots, whatever leads to that imperfection, he's very reflective and he says, I was bad. I could have been better in this way. He wants to be a perfect player, quite frankly. He's a perfectionist. That's the first story I ever wrote about him. And when he has games like the one he had against Miami just 11 days ago, that's on perfect display when he just beats himself up and he can't get over it and he can't get it off his mind. And then he gets another chance at Miami. He sees their coverages. He sees the same guys and he just carved them up. And what made this one even crazier beyond that is really early in the game, he was going crazy. He hit 4 for 5 from deep in the first quarter, right? It was a very early signs that this was going to be a bomb Tyrese Haliburton night. And so the Heat would go, oh, crap, he's on fire from deep. He is all the Pacers offense right now. Let's start sending 2 to him. So they altered their coverages to, make him pass the ball a little more. All of a sudden, he's giving it to other guys. Buddy Hield has a big stretch. I think he had 12 points by halftime, all on threes, and he got other guys involved. Jalen Smith had a really big first half. Like, Haliburton just knows what to give the team, and when the Heat changed their coverage, he changed his attack, and that led to the most brilliant game of his career by a mile. Quite frankly, it wasn't close. He said that his Pacers teammates threw ice all over him in an ice bath. His jersey was soaked in the locker room, and that was the moment for him. In the same week that the overcovered now quote from Wally Zerbiak was that Tyrese Haliburton is a wannabe fake all-star, that he responded to in an interview with Taylor Rooks saying, I don't know if I've ever said that on the record, not understanding where that comes from. He didn't respond by taking shots back at anybody. He responded by stepping on the court and being who he thinks Tyrese Haliburton is and what he wants Tyrese Haliburton to be, right? 33-8 against the Boston Celtics, the Eastern Conference champions last year on their home floor in Boston. Then they fly to Miami 2 nights later, the 2020 Eastern Conference champions, conference finalist last year, and says, you know what? I'm going to set my career high. I'm going to break a franchise record, and I'm going to hit the game-winning shot against one of the best defenses in the league. Talk about a way to put your stamp on things and let your game do the talking. And now the Pacers have played 5 games since that last Heat game where he had 1 point, remember, against Miami, and they slowed him down. His last 5 game stats for Tyrese Haliburton in that stretch: 27.4 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game, shooting 50% from the field and 43.4% from deep. That's an all-star level player. Even Wally Zerbiak tweeted today about Tyrese Haliburton being an all-star level player. That's how good he played in this game. That's how good he has rebounded from not only the Heat game, but 2 rough clutch games against the Cavs and Knicks. He had, quite frankly, a career start, like not defining. I don't want to say career defining, but like getting his career into a new territory of, wow, this is a really talented young guard who could be an all-star this year, to like, oh, wow, this dude's really effing good. All these teams got to start paying attention to what this dude can do. And the game winner puts the icing on the cake. And speaking of the game winner, I haven't even talked about it. I want to talk about the rest of the game a little bit. Only going to do 2 segments today, but happy to talk about the rest of the game and what Haliburton did at the buzzer. Before I get to that, though, let me tell you guys about BetOnline.net, your number 1 source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college football bowl season to basketball. They've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. It's the fastest and easiest way to get your sports betting info. Football lines up for this week. Tons of games on Christmas Eve. Couple of games even on Christmas Day. And the Colts, of course, the Pacers' city mates, playing on Monday Night Football the day after Christmas. The Chargers favored by 4 in Indianapolis. All those lines and more over at betonline.net, the fastest and easiest way to get all the latest on your favorite sports. Head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more, because BetOnline is where the game starts. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Pacers your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Heat whenever they post next. I'm assuming they will be taking the Christmas weekend off, but they'll, of course, have thoughts on this game. Heat drop one that they almost came back and had. We'll get to that, I guess, late in this segment. But the Heat lose a game that was potentially winnable. They slowed down quite a few Pacer players in this game. Let's talk about Haliburton's buzzer beater and the rest of the Pacers' performance. Look, this did not look like the game that it was going to be at the end, right? Let's change courses. I guess I'll talk about the Heat's comeback right now because it is relevant to setting the scene for what Tyrese Haliburton just did. 4 minutes and 34 seconds to go in this game. Tyrese Haliburton finishes an and one. He puts the Pacers up 105-93. That is a 12-point lead with under 5 minutes to go. As we have seen from the Pacers this week, that is meaningless. The Cavs, they were up with just 5 minutes to go. They blew it. They were up 6 on the Knicks with just a few minutes to go. They blew it. They were up not a bunch. They were up on the Celtics with just a few minutes to go. They almost blew it, but Haliburton saved the day. This time up 12 with 4:34 to go. And they cannot even hold that lead. The Heat cut that 12-point lead in half by the 2:30 mark on a Tyler Hero three-pointer. Then Haywood Highsmith dunked, and now it's a 4-point game with just under 2 minutes to go. O'Shea Brissett gets a nice free throw going, gets it to 5. Then Tyler Hero hits 2 free throws, and all of a sudden, it's a 3-point game again with under a minute to go. The Pacers have blown their lead. They miss a shot. Andrew Nembhard misses a wide open three with 20 seconds left. Now the Heat have the ball, chance to tie. And if they do, that means the Pacers blew a 12-point lead in about 4 minutes. Lo and behold, Tyler Hero, the guy that Andrew Nembhard shut down the first time the Pacers beat the Heat, gets a 3, gets free, a great screen by the Heat to get TJ McConnell off the ball. Tyler Hero drills it with 14 seconds to go, 15 seconds to go. It's 108-108. The story of this game almost had nothing to do with Haliburton's career night, almost had nothing to do with him breaking franchise records and putting his name on the map. Instead, it would have been for the 4th time in 5 games and for like the 11th game in a row, the Pacers enter clutch time. And again, for the 4th time in 5 games, they lose it. Instead, Tyrese Haliburton comes in. They get him the ball at the top of the key. The Heat were trying to deny a little bit. He said he would have got it anyway, right? He made a point to point that out in his post-game interview that some way, somehow, he was going to get the ball. He said he wanted to be the guy to take it in his walk-off interview with Jeremiah Johnson, the Pacers sideline reporter, on the Valley Sports broadcast, saying, I told everybody, just give me the ball and the game will be over, right? He wanted to get it. So he gets it. Kyle Lowry's guarding him. Buddy Hield comes over for a ghost screen, or not really a real screen. Those are all fake deception things at that point in the game. And the Heat kind of switch. So Tyler Hero's immediately on Haliburton. And Tyler Hero, I guess they wanted to trap Haliburton. I'm not sure what was happening, but Hero kind of angled, and then Lowry dropped away. So now all of a sudden Haliburton's being guarded by a worse defender because of that switch. So he kind of goes left to attack. And then Hero's like, oh, we were supposed to send 2 to the ball. And Lowry kind of thinks the same thing. So Lowry steps up to take him so they could like kind of pre-switch, thinking he's going to drive. Hero drops away. And all of a sudden Haliburton's got a sliver of space because the man on him just dropped away. So Tyrese Haliburton, who expected to be guarded in one way, 2 guys come into the ball, who expected to be denied, all of a sudden has read in about a 3-second span that they switched wrong. He got the ball, and he's got space for a look. So all of a sudden, Kyle Lowry, who's in the middle of switching, has to lunge to defend the shot from the top of the key. Haywood Highsmith from the right wing goes, and tries to also contest the shot. So it looks awesome from a visual perspective because now Haliburton is shooting this 3 over 2 defenders. Perfect shot the whole way. Rick Carlisle saying in his postgame media that he was straight behind Haliburton, had a perfect view of it going in. I mean, it looked perfect. Perfect swish, perfect shot. Technically still time left, not a buzzer beater. Tyler Hero missed a 40-footer with 0.2 seconds to go. That was not close. And the Pacers win 111-108. It was an incredible moment for Tyrese Haliburton to have that shot be a 43-point game. The first 10 threes game by any Pacers player, the moment of his career, what he calls the biggest shot of his career. He just tore apart the Heat and saved the Pacers from the story once again being their miserable defense down the stretch of a game and their inability to score enough points to put a team away. But Tyrese Haliburton did it, and it was a game that will not be forgotten for him for a while, and one that quite frankly put him on the map of, oh, wow, we got to play Tyrese Haliburton tonight, right? That's a thing that defenders think about. I got to guard that guy again and again and again, right? That gets harder and harder the better these players get. You always think he's coming at you, and now it'll even be more so the case with a shot like this. I saw it all over social media, commented on, like I saw Kevin Durant comment on a post about the shot making fun of Wally Zerbiak, which was pretty funny. Like, that's the kind of shot that gets you attention and notoriety around the league. And he couldn't have won this game alone. Look, he had 43. The Pacers won 11. He was obviously a massive part of the win, 7 assists as well. Like, Tyrese Haliburton did a lot for this team. And for a lot of the time for the Pacers this year, balance has been a big part of their success. Tonight, that was not the case. They only had 2 guys score 15 or more points. The other one was Buddy Hield. I want to give him a little bit of love for the way he played. 21 points, all on threes. 7 of 11 from deep. 5 rebounds for him as well. No turnovers. The big reason he deserves a shout out for the way he played. Plus 17. They got smoked when he was out of the game. In the 13 minutes he was out, they lost by 11. When he was out there, they did great, right? His shooting was huge. He expands the floor for others. Tyrese Haliburton's playmaking becomes easier when he's out there. And even Rick Carlisle said, Buddy got us going, right? Buddy Hield was huge in the first quarter of this game, as was Tyrese Haliburton. Huge stuff from Buddy Hield in this game. Jalen Smith had an awesome game. Miles Turner, really, really, really rough. First 3 quarters for Miles Turner. He had some big plays in the fourth, but it was really terrible before that, and it was in foul trouble, and they needed Jalen Smith to step up to give them good center minutes. And despite turning his ankle twice, it was revealed after the game, Jalen Smith, he goes 6 for 9. He also had 11 rebounds and 3 blocks, 14 points. He was fantastic. They needed every single thing he could give them in this game. So huge moments from Jalen Smith in this game, huge moments from Buddy Hield, and they end up being just enough with a bunch of other guys contributing here and there. A lot of guys were good on defense in this game, for example. But the only other 10-point score I haven't even said was Andrew Nembhard, who was 4 for 11 from the field, right? The Pacers really needed everything Tyrese Haliburton gave them, and Buddy Hield and Jalen Smith added just enough to make the Pacers, the team that they were in this game, to be enough to beat the Miami Heat, and the Pacers get it done. And they are now 17-16, back over 500. Much needed. I mean, what odds would you have given anyone on the planet that the Pacers would be over 500 by Christmas? I mean, it has to be so low. I DM'd someone, I won't say who, and said, what odds would you give me before the season about that? And they said, probably less than 5%, right? It's impressive that they are at this point, at this stage. This is their first time winning consecutive games in over a month since they beat the Magic twice in a row. This is only the 3rd time of the season they've won 2 road games in a row, and they did it against the reigning Eastern Conference champions and runner-ups. Impressive win from the Pacers. They get just enough from absolutely everybody in this game. Benedict Mathurin started with Aaron Nesmith injured in this game. That's like the 5th afterthought of the game. It was the first Mathurin Haliburton start together ever, right? That's almost a huge story. Does not matter in the context of this game because of how it will be remembered. Obviously, it matters. I don't want to belittle that, but huge game from Tyrese Haliburton. I really wanted to talk about it. I always want to put my opinions and try to discuss these huge moments in players' careers. And I'm really glad I got to do that today. Tyrese Haliburton's game was incredible. The way he was able to carve up the Heat was like nothing I've ever seen from him before, and something he can build off of as he continues to put his stamp on the league and put everybody on notice. He'll get another chance on Monday when they take on the New Orleans Pelicans. And hey, I'm not avoiding it, but before the game, huge news came out via Shams Charania and The Athletic that the Pacers and Miles Turner reportedly open to discussing a contract extension, something I've talked about on this show probably more than I should have, honestly, leading up to this point. But now it's all looking very relevant. Monday, the 26th, I will talk about that, what it means, why now, what kind of deal it could look like, what it means for trade season, all that sort of stuff. And, of course, we'll talk what Pacers-Pelicans could look like Monday night as Tyrese Haliburton tries to build off of a 43-point, 10 3-point made game-winning shot type of game. There's a lot to talk about with this Pacers team, so I had to squeeze in 2 episodes. But, of course, the Turner extension episode is coming. That's a huge story, but not as important as what Tyrese Haliburton just did. And I absolutely wanted to talk about it. And I hope you guys listened. If you are on your holiday weekend, hope you're enjoying it. If it's after your holiday weekend, thanks for checking back in with this Pacers team. Hope you had a great time with family, whoever you spent it with. And have a Merry Christmas. For those of you who are listening before the 25th, you can follow me on Twitter at TEastNBA and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. Again, we'll be back Monday talking Miles Turner and everything extension related. Till then, everybody have a great weekend.